But if you're looking at a lot of the artists that they're using kind of very simple backbeats where it's literally like one or two loops, you're not going to be able to make it big just because you do that. Because everybody's doing that. So if you're going to want to make it big, or if you want to just forget about even that, just like earn a living, be able to do this, you need to know a little bit of chord progressions and some music theory and listening to music to actually have other artists want to work with you as a producer.
This is the Living Numbers Podcast, and I am your host, Tony Rambles. This is the place where everyone's interesting if you ask the right questions. Of course, we got to start off with our 4 appeals. 20 seconds, ready, set, timing. Number 1, rate, review, 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. Number 2, follow me on IG and TikTok at the Living Numbers Podcast. Number 3, you can support the vision for the show by purchasing some merch. And number 4, subscribe on Apple and Spotify for the behind the scenes stuff. That's all great stuff there. And I think I got that in 20 seconds. Linktree link in the description. Of course, when we have somebody on for the first time, we have to give them an elaborate introduction. So, hailing from somewhere in New York, our guest has earned his bachelor's in biology from Yeshiva University. He earned a BSc from NYU, as well as a master's in secondary education from NYU. This guy is a teacher like your very own. Our guest began his classical violin training at 2 years old. His improvisation and expertise across multiple genres, his words, not mine, has inspired an innovative career as a cutting-edge electronic violinist. Now, you guys know I am a sucker for music, so we're going to dive head first. He's been featured as a soloist across 4 continents and has worked with the likes of PBS, Google, CNN, NBC. You ever heard of them? Those are big dogs. He's also played at major venues, including MSG, Madison Square Garden, Carnegie Hall, and the Lincoln Center. Our guest is working to influence societal norms and conventional thinking about musical performance. He's a musician, breakdancer, blogger, teacher, and parent volunteer. I present the Asher Laub. I hope I said your name right.
Wow, yeah, you did. And wow, that's an awful lot of detail there. I wasn't even expecting. You got the whole background. I don't know the last time somebody was able to go back and see like my other degrees, but yeah, that's pretty accurate.
That's what we do here. I do my research because that drives what I feel as far as asking questions, how the show's going to go. And, you know, if I don't do my research, then it's kind of hard to know. I mean, I'm a professional.
You don't do your homework.
I do. I do my homework and I turn it in on time.
Yeah.
So I want to start with we're going to go keep it easy here. I've been a teacher this is my 6th year teaching. And so I saw that you are also a teacher. So I actually wanted to start there. How's teaching been for you kind of in what you teach? Are you a biology or do you do music? I didn't quite get that deep in the research.
Right. Okay. So to clear it all up, I have my degree from NYU teaching. I taught for 4 years in the DOE. That was a number of years ago. Then I went off to get a degree in nursing. All the while, basically, I was playing music since 2001 as professionally, and even throughout my degrees, and even while I was teaching. But the weight of music, like just the requirements for just running a music career, it was too much, and I prioritized that. So I am no longer teaching at this point. I'm doing music full time. But I was a biology teacher. I taught high school, middle school. I taught in the South Bronx public school. Love my kids. I had about 100, 150 or so on average per year. And yeah, I taught bio, chemistry, physics, earth science,
Ooh,
way too many topics. But that's just sort of a microcosm of what I'm sure. I mean, I don't know how many topics you have to teach, but it's just like that's in a general idea as to how much. I'm saying for your listeners, how many hats a teacher has to wear. So to like pair that
mm.
up with like an outside, like playing on the weekend kind of gig is just way too much. Yeah. So no longer doing that.
Man, so you had like 4 or 5 preps. That's what it sounds like. At least that's that's what we call them. Different classes that you have to teach. Um,
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. What kind of teacher were you? Were you like laid back, or did you have like a ton of rules? You may
You
have
know,
fallen somewhere in between.
it really depended on the class, how much like they wanted to get away with stuff versus how mature they were versus like how
Mhm.
established I was in the school. As a brand new teacher, it's like you gotta be really careful. Yeah, yeah. And it's not easy just to get them to like you so that they follow your rules. It's like they're still gonna want to take advantage of you. So um, it really depended on the class. Like by the second year, it gets way easier. The first year is like hard for
Oh
everybody.
my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. It's like no matter what you've done before or after, being a teacher is a very, very distinct, very special experience. I won't hold you on teaching too long, but I do want to ask,
That's all right.
were you more fond of like upperclassmen, lowerclassmen, high school, middle school?
I really had to think about that because there were things that I loved about the different grades. And as somebody, I'm
Mm,
a parent, so I just I have a 3-year-old and 11-year-old, and I just there's such a blessing. It's such there's nothing that comes close to having kids that you love. So teaching, like, it didn't help to have the stress of like the administration. So that played a major factor also in like how much do I like these kids? Like if you got like a principal's breathing down your back, breathing down your throat, then it's like, well, no matter how amazing the kids are, I really hate them.
yeah,
Um,
got to get out of here.
yeah, but teaching the older kids generally a little bit easier because they're not goofing off and they have better discipline and longer, you know, they're able to focus for longer periods of time. So
Mm.
I would say in general, that was easiest. Sixth, seventh graders, that can be pretty tough. It's a tough age, but they're cute.
Man,
Yeah,
no way, no way, no way, no way. I
yeah,
had another guy on. He was like, "Yeah, middle school, like that's my crew, man. I love the middle schoolers." I was just like, "Absolutely not, no
yeah. It takes time.
way."
It takes time to get used to. It's an acquired taste as a
Oh my
teacher.
goodness. Did you ever talk about your music in class or show them, your stuff?
I did actually. That was one of my best lessons. I was teaching sound waves. Actually, I remember like it was yesterday,
Mm.
and that was a hit because the kids were just like they saw this new dimension to Mr. Laub. Like, oh, Mr. Laub, he
Yes.
plays the violin. I made these like cute videos. I set up on the projection screen. I just these different personas that kind of goofing off, and they really enjoyed that. And again, the sound waves units were my favorite physics, and I guess the kids too because it involved music, and I also taught the music. I also had a music club, so in high school and middle school. So good old days.
Man, sound like you were a really good teacher.
Um, I think I was, but I don't know that it was like long term. It was the best choice for me. Um,
Mm,
I think I probably should have just stuck with music from day one. But that being said, I think the music experience, the teaching experience, added many dimensions to my just personality and my perspective on
mhm.
life, and it enriched me as a person. So I guess that's pretty important. It just didn't help my music career as much.
What was the point where you had to go, "Okay, like, nah, I have to leave teaching. Like, it's really gotten to tomorrow. I gotta go full in with music." Do you remember, like, a specific experience or an event that happened?
Um, I was getting opportunities in music, and
Mm,
and I was like, kind of craving them. They came before I had even entered grad school, my master's, and then they kind of disappeared as I was heading into education. And as they're coming back, I was thinking like maybe this is what I want to do. Um, I just also just because the pay is they're not paying teachers enough to do what they do, to be like grading endlessly and managing the kids. They're just not paying them enough. Yeah.
So, did you ever get into nursing? Like, because I know you went for the degree, but did
Yeah,
you
I
ever
I
really get into it?
graduated, and then the pandemic happened, and then my wife is like, and I'm like, "You're right. I'm gonna stick with music." So they're both kind of risky, but and now there's this mass exodus out of the nursing world. There's like one third of nurse, some outrageous number, like one third of nurses have have left the field or are trying to leave the field. So they're trying
Mm,
to recruit. I mean, um, I can't use expletives on this show, but I was about to use them. It's a blank show, crap show, whatever. It's just a big mess. So you could say it was a waste of a degree, not a waste of knowledge, but maybe a waste of like money.
mm.
Here I am back in music, so that's what I'm doing now.
I just had a teacher. She was a nurse. Then she came to education, and now, like maybe a month ago, she left education to go back to being a nurse. Um, so
Wow.
if there's a mass exodus with nurses, there's definitely a mass exodus with teachers as well.
That's telling. That is telling, and the higher powers that are running that are steering the ship, they're just kind of banking on people just needing to work, and I think a lot of what do you call it, the mass migration, is that what they call it now, people just leaving in droves because they're just like I'm
Uh,
tired, I'm done. Like
the Great Resignation, I think
crazy.
it's called.
Yes, thank you. The Great Resignation, so I think that's kind of continuing to an extent.
Well, I guess people will really see what they really want to do. And if they really want to go back and be a nurse or a teacher or whatever they left, they may go back and do that because sometimes the grass is not greener on the other side, right? You may do all this complaining or things may just kind of suck at that company that you work for,
Yeah.
but you go and you leave. Maybe you want to start a business. Maybe you want to do something else that maybe you thought would be better, but sometimes it's not, and so you go, well, being a teacher wasn't that bad. Maybe I need to go to a different school or a different district. But sometimes you do find what actually fits you, and that's going to bring us to our next number. So I don't think they have Whataburgers up in New York, but it's a fast food burger chain, right? This makes sense for our number, just to give you some context here. So for $10.87, you can get a number two. That's a meal, double meat patty, cheese, get a drink. That's one of my orders here. And they give you a very short term self gratification there, right? But if you spend $9, that will get you Asher Laub's album, which lasts a lifetime. Oh man, that may have been my best or my corniest setup ever.
A little bit of both.
That gets us to the first question: is like, why did you start violin lessons so early, 2 years old?
Well, I think my mother started me, but I used to look up to my older brother, and I'd tell my mom, "Hey, I want to do that." So yeah, he was a violinist, played concertos, 6 years older than me. So it started really young, and she just started me on professional lessons. I even did it with my daughter. She's got a little wood violin. She's 3, so I'm hoping I can follow up on that. Uh, yeah, but give her like, but give her a little bit more of a, I don't know, an easygoing experience than I did because mine was kind of intense, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to most people. In terms of like the Suzuki method, the etudes, the sight reading at age 3, like I don't know, it probably helped. I'm sure it helped me cognitively and just in terms of like the neural connections in the brain. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's maybe healthier at that age to just I don't know, play around with music that you really enjoy.
The musicians that I've talked to, they all kind of say eventually it got to a point where it's just like I just want to play stuff that I like. Like that's before you get to even with all of the technical stuff, you talked about the Suzuki method. So I really want you to explain for people who don't play an
Yeah.
instrument what that is. But with the other people, singers, musicians, and like at some point, I just kind of want to play stuff I like. So how did you get from the very intense training to kind of getting to that path where you're able to kind of have some more fun?
How did I get from the intense training? Well, this is a benefit to starting with Suzuki, where it's kind of geared towards really young kids, and then you kind of move from one book to the next, each with progressive skills as you get older. Um, the idea is to sort of start by playing by ear, and then you sort of you take this song like Mississippi Hot Dog, ABCs, whatever, and then you start reading the sheet music, even though you kind of already know the music in your head.
Mm,
So it makes the sight reading a bit easier. So that's sort of how I started with the Suzuki method. But the transition from classical training, private training my whole life, to the improv, the stuff that I'm doing today, happened around high school. So we're talking maybe 10th,
mm,
11th, 12th grade, where I was looking at the jazz band and I was playing the classical orchestra, and I was thinking, I want to do that. Like, so I gravitated towards there, and there wasn't really a place for me so much, except for a couple of shows that they did, and I definitely didn't have like the mic equipment at the time, but it started me off on this path, this journey towards improvisation. Kind of helped me explore. I got into Jimi Hendrix and classic rock, and I was just playing that stuff on my violin. I found it was pretty easy to do because I already had the skills from years of classical training. So
mm.
once you have the what's the word, that foundation of skills within music, it's a lot easier to branch off and get creative.
So the classical training, that intense training really helped you to be able to play the stuff that you like, which you said some of it was Jimmy. What were some of your other faves to play there early on?
John Luc Ponty was a real challenge for me. I think he's French based violinist, electric violinist. He's one
Hmm.
of those like cutting edge, legendary fusion jazz violinists. Kind of like created the genre. Vanessa May. I didn't get to Vanessa May till later. She's an absolute virtuoso, based in Europe, UK actually. Also an electric violinist. But I started with like easier music, classic rock. So I was hanging out with my friends playing guitar, and we were just sort of jamming along and playing like the Beatles and Led Zeppelin, you know, a little bit of Frank Sinatra, that type of stuff. So
Okay, classics.
yeah, the classics everybody knows, stuff that you already kind of know the melody, so you play along to it. You don't really have to think about it or read the sheet music. And then when you're kind of learning the chords by default, which is like everybody wants to learn the chords so they could sing along. I was able to
Yeah.
sort of translate that to the melody. Yeah.
Um, where did you ever pick up any other instruments along the way?
Yeah, so I spent a year in Israel, 2000 to 2001. That was sort of like the year of like Asher's brain, all in music. I was supposed to be doing other stuff, but it was kind of university related credits back at home, back at Yeshiva University. But I was spending a
Mm.
lot of time jamming, and like we had a band and we won Battle of the Bands that year. It was a cool experience. So I was spending all my time
Ooh.
like playing drums, getting really good at that, and piano and mandolin. Well, mandolin's kind of an offshoot of the violin, same fingering. Um, so yeah, drums, and I play a little saxophone, but mostly like drums, guitar, violin, and what am I missing here? Piano. Yeah. So spent a lot of time doing that stuff.
Wow. So
Well,
you
that's
can play everything.
uh, yeah. Well, not everything, but a lot of instruments, and that was sort of laid the foundation for my production work because I produce like symphonies now and EDM, classical, some hip hop, and I do that using a keyboard. I'm like pointing over here because
Hmm.
my studio.
Your
Um,
setup.
yeah, so it's got like MIDI's, keyboards, and I try to produce as much of the music from the ground up as possible. And
Mm.
you need a foundation. It's helpful to know guitar and or piano to do that.
So one thing that you just said that really stuck out in my mind because I have these conversations with my kids all the time, and my brother, he uh, he produces beats as well. Uh, how do you feel about so much music? You mentioned hip hop. That's pretty much where I'm going. Being samples instead of more original work.
Well,
Okay, I see you lighting up there.
you're asking me what was the last thing you said? It's what?
I said I see you lighting up there. You got something to say?
I thought you said something else. Um, I thought you said it was effed up, but but I was thinking I have a lot to say about that. You know, I did a collaboration with Insane Beats, a hip hop song, free fall, and like I think it was good. It was a cool collab. He's really talented, produces all this stuff. He produces a lot of loops and beats for stuff for people. Um, you know, that's part of how he earns his living. He's a producer, but I don't have any beef with like people who produce loops and want to kind of help other producers.
Hmm.
I don't I don't think it lends itself towards what's the word, creating like the most original, authentic type of stuff, type of music,
Boom.
and also creates,
Originality.
yeah, it also creates it runs the risk. You run the risk of like royalty infringement problems with the with the PROs and YouTube and Facebook picking up on, you could end up investing in the song and promoting the heck out of it once it's got 100,000 streams. And it's like, oh, gotta take this down because the part of the loop in the song was claimed by Universal Records or whatever.
Right.
So that's a big
Somebody.
mess. And if you're gonna use a loop, you really want to tweak it. And I wouldn't like overuse loops too much and use midis. Um, So yeah, that's a problem. And I think it also, I mean, I can go on and on about this. I don't know how much I don't want to bore your listeners too much.
Hey, well, I think a lot of people are interested in music, and so you being, I mean, having this extensive expertise, I feel like coming from you instead of Mr. Franklin when I tell my kids, like, come on, like, come up with something original instead of taking something from something else. Like, I'm not saying that is bad, and I don't hate it. I'm just saying that if all you rap over, if all you make are beats that are sampled from something else, I'm like, where is the originality? When you said that word, that's what stuck out to me.
Yeah, and you're also kind of one fish in a pond of a million fishes that are doing the same thing. So you gotta if you want to make a living doing it, you gotta distinguish yourself.
Mm,
And I get it. Like there are thousands of like artists, wannabe artists, producers, wannabe producers who are looking at like guys like Drake or a Little Wayne and Little Dirk and all these other littles, and like folks that are using pretty simple backbeats. uh, and I think they're thinking, oh yeah, oh I could do that, and like that's what the labels rely on. They're
mm,
relying on people saying I could do that, and I could like sing out of tune, or I could not sing, or I could just kind of mumble rap or whatever. And by the way, there's lots of good rappers out there, but they're like you got to look at guys like Eminem. He's not mumbling. Like I think he's very talented. I know a lot of people love Drake, that type of stuff. But if you're looking at a lot of the artists that they're using kind of very simple backbeats where it's literally like one or two loops, you're not going to be able to make it big just because you do that. Because
right.
everybody's doing that. So if you're going to want to make it big, or if you want to just forget about even that, just like earn a living, be able to do this, you need to know a little bit of you need to know about chord progressions and you need to know a little bit of music theory. Like you don't have to go get your PhD at Juilliard,
Mm,
but you do have to spend a little time like knowing chord progressions and some music theory and listening to music to to actually have other artists want to work with you as a producer, type of thing.
right. So for you, work because you work creating your own stuff, you help put a lot of other stuff together in multiple genres. How do you stay creative? Like, how do you kind of, I don't know, continue to, I don't want to say update your sound, but keep things fresh for yourself?
Well, it's funny because I'm really self motivated to want to make things different because I can't keep producing the same song each time. I just feel like, what am I doing? I'm just one of those people. I don't know if it's like a Some might, I don't know. Is it an ADHD thing? I'm not sure. I don't know why I feel the need to make something different each time. Could be just like the drive to meet my listeners' needs, because I have a lot of, I got fans on different platforms and people DMing me, and they want this and they want that and they want a symphony and they want EDM. They want, because everybody's got different
Mhm.
demands. So I'm just trying to, I guess, make everybody happy. What drives me to be creative is, first of all, taking breaks, and also looking to other artists for inspiration. I'm
Mm.
not like this. I'm not in this. What's the word? This vacuum where all the brilliance is coming from my own head. Absolutely not. I'm standing on the shoulders of other really talented musicians and producers that I have very much respect. And like I mentioned, guys like John McPonte, Joe Venuti, Chick Corea, I don't know, Vanessa May, David Garrett, all these names that probably nobody knows, but like people that really inspire me. Even like 40s pop artists like Coldplay, these like Dua Lipa, they got. I'm not giving necessarily them credit. Well, actually, Coldplay, yeah, they're making the music themselves, but Maroon 5, I don't know. These are guys that Bruno Mars kicks. I almost said it. He's awesome. Uh, he's really good. uh, so yeah, you gotta look to other artists for inspiration. You kind of blend it all together, and whatever you produce,
Mhm.
kind of, you're the product. As the producer, you're the product of the people that you listen to.
Mm. So what's one of those first songs that you made where you felt like, okay, this is good. Like this is actually really good.
Neon Dreams, I'm gonna say. I mean, that's definitely like, my one of my more successful songs. And also because the feedback's been really great. Oddly
Mhm.
enough, I didn't produce anything quite like it since, and I'm probably gonna have to do that soon. I plan on doing it soon. Um, I, when I got into the symphonies really recently, in terms of releasing it to the public, I made a song, a symphony ABBA, ABBA, yeah, ABBA. That was the first. That was kind of like a new thing for me, like spending
Mm.
hours in the studio, layering like percussion, strings, winds, brass, you name it, and having it all kind of breathe life into the song. So that was like a new kind of creation for me, and I was very excited about the product. That is, having produced that more recently than Neon Dreams. Neon Dreams 2018. I decided I'm gonna get really intense with my production, really innovative. I'm gonna try to merge in an epic way the symphonies and the EDM, and I have yet to do that. I'm working on it right now in the studio.
So what's the difference like when you're working on different genres, like from hip hop to EDM to orchestral, like what's the difference when you're creating in those different genres?
So different different software, different MIDI's, different VSTs. Basically, in layman's terms, like if I'm doing a symphony, I'm using my keyboard because I'm not spending $100,000 to hire a symphony. Although I plan on doing that. Well, not 100,000. I plan on hiring a full symphony for very soon. Just for like the sheer like epicness of it. But I'm producing the stuff on my own. So yeah, that's when I'm doing EDM. Sometimes I'm using loops. Sometimes I'm using like MIDI loops and that type of stuff. I'm focusing more on like the rhythm and on the bass, and not so much
Mm.
at all on the brass and the winds. So yeah, it's just different sounds, pretty much, to simplify it for your listeners. But I'm using the same DAW
Different songs.
audio workstation.
Wow.
Mouthful there.
This is so good. We could really go like off the deep end with the music because I'm such a fan of music. Like I have my guitars here and stuff. Definitely not. I'm definitely not trained or anything, but I just enjoy all kinds of music. And so like when you talked about jazz, Snarky Puppy is one of my favorite bands. I listen to them all the time.
Mhm.
Tame Impala and his stuff, and then you got like the Duke, Duke and Artie Shaw, and the big bands. And when you
Mhm.
start talking about how like putting all of these pieces together to create something epic, to use your word, I just think that that rivals. I'm a huge sports fan. Like that rivals any kind of football or basketball play, even more so, right? Because you have way more moving parts in an orchestra, or a big band, So, man, I love music and all that comes with it.
Cool. Well, I'm always thrilled to talk to people that have a passion for music, because I kind of
mm,
have different experiences. I play for and with like people that are passionate about music, and then I play like corporate type stuff where everybody's there to network and they're like they give two craps about the music. You know what I mean? Yeah.
so actually, let's get into that. Okay, that's gonna bring us to our next number, which on your website it said there are 12 different forms of event entertainment on there. Okay, that's what I counted. Now, I'm not going to ask you to name all of them, but I also saw like breakdancing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
How did the breakdancing come about? Like, before we get into the 12, like the breakdancing, like, how did this happen? Because you had an event in your life, I think that is connected to it.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, I don't want to bore people too much, but in a nutshell, I just I have a serious condition, in chronic inflammatory disease that progressed to adrenal insufficiency. So had a lot of back pain, not exactly fibromyalgia, but kind of in that family of painful experiences. Adrenal insufficiency, not producing enough cortisol, not producing enough hormone to like stand. I wasn't able to hold my instrument. I had to quit my job as a musician, and I was pretty much bedridden for like 6 months in a wheelchair. So when I got out of there, which was not the plan, and off Cortef, which is a steroid, I hit the ground running and dancing. You could say I hit the ground dancing because I was like, it was sort of like a I don't know, a revival. I felt renewed. I felt like I don't care
Mm,
what anybody thinks. This is just something that I'm going to express myself in the most intensive way possible. I feel a lot of joy and a lot of gratitude
yeah.
towards music, and this is my way of sort of expressing that. So that's because that sort of became a new a new direction that I took in music.
So breakdancing, you got down, you broke the cardboard out, you got the Kango hat going, and you just
Well,
started spinning.
yeah, yeah. So that's not. It's not like the breakdancers that I play with. Like they're really breakdancing. Like I'm stuck up here doing this. So, but they're like moving their hands, and so I need them as support to kind of accentuate or augment what I'm doing. A lot of it's going on like beneath the waist, like the legs, the Michael Jackson sort of style. So that hip hop type of movement that works well with what I play. I can't. I don't look good when I'm doing ballet. Like I'm not a ballet kind of guy. Um, I don't know, but the hip hop type of thing like that works, and it has kind of limited scope, but it works for like EDM, electronic dance, hip hop, that type of stuff. Mhm. Have fun with it.
So you're not just standing there with the violin. And I saw you like on some of your stuff on IG, like you getting down, you got the footwork going.
Yeah,
That's
when the
cool.
crowd's into it and like it's like an epic performance or it's a concert, it's like yeah, you got to get down. Like you know, people 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 generally seem to like gravitate towards vocals, from what I've noticed.
Hmm.
So there isn't as much of a lead in instrumentalists as much. It seems like we're sort of appendages to the band, the way the major labels have created it in this country. And this is sort of like a way to kind of make it more a more exciting kind of performance, solo performance. Yeah,
Have you ever thought about adding vocals like to your performance or any of your music?
I have, and I sing, but I have not. Every time I thought about it, I'm like, why am I doubling up? Like I just kind of I'm stubborn like that. I feel like I want the violin to be the main thing. Um
Mm.
and again, just be the stubborn me. May eventually change. Maybe I'll just like work with the soloist. I do work with soloists. I work with singers.
Okay. Okay. You never know. You never know. Um, so how did you start to go, all right, I need to diversify. I need to have all of these different things that I offer. Was that a just kind of hey, how can we make more money kind of thing, or you felt like this creative itch in these different areas?
I'm always exploring ways in which I can make the violin interesting through production, through live performance. I mean, I got a post tonight, little thing I did in Manhattan on a hoverboard. So I'm like rolling around on a hoverboard with an LED violin, like lit up the bow. I'm just making things interesting, engaging, trying to get people excited about what I'm passionate about, the violin, something that's like been a part of my life my whole, since the beginning. And I don't think people don't have that same passion, and I'm just trying to spark that, like that spark. What's the phrase? Help me out here. Um, and I
I
think that
think
that's
that's
the way to
right
do it. Kind of show different dimensions of the violin, different genres that the violin can play, just the relevance of the instrument.
because you just never know where you go. Man, that actually sounds pretty good. And right now you go down a rabbit hole.
You're a guitarist, I see. Have you
Yeah.
Joe Satriani? I don't know if you heard of the guy. I remember
Nope.
growing up hearing Joe Satriani on I don't know, in the '90s. Um,
Mhm.
I just thought like, man, this guy's amazing. And he's selling platinum records and he's signed to a major label. I just felt like, why can't the violin have that kind of relevance to the average listener? I mean, like the mass appeal, other than just in an orchestra in a classical setting, traditional classical setting, and it's very slowly kind of making headway. But I think it's just because it's such a complicated instrument to play. Kids, when they're
Mm.
young, they don't want to go make the effort to learn the instrument. Um, but that's sort of where the origin started. Like the idea began in my head. Like Joe Satriani, he's an amazing soloist guitarist. He's a pop instrumentalist, and I kind of want to do something like that. Make the instrument
Mm.
relevant to people. Look them up.
Keep going. I think the stuff that you're doing in a space like it's not just you're not just standing there playing the violin. And when you say you like to just try things, like I can see it. You know, as I'm scrolling down the IG, like as you on the beach, as you playing the Wiz Khalifa song. You know, you also played I think it was an Adele song. I can't remember the name of it. It was a cover.
Hmm.
Um, but just continuing to try stuff, I really like that because I'm the same kind of person. It's like, huh, especially in the classroom.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if this will work. I wonder if this will work. We ended up doing a Soul Train line in the class one time just because I'm like, okay, I teach a speech class. So I'm like, just trying to get people up and comfortable. You know, sometimes, you know, you get the music going and you get one person dancing and they get other people to dance. And now it's a Soul Train line. We got people coming down the line. Now everybody's a little more comfortable and mission accomplished.
Mhm.
So
Peer pressure.
trying stuff, you just never know. You
Mhm.
never know.
Yeah. You know it better than anybody as a teacher. You're always trying new things to get lessons to be more appealing to your kids. I mean, the second year that I was a teacher in biology, I revamped a lot of my lessons, and I was thinking, oh, I could just
Mm,
cruise here. But I was thinking, how do I make this a more enjoyable experience? Like, I want my kids to enjoy the classroom. I want them to feel passionate about science, about biology,
yep.
physics, and I want to get a good feeling. Like, I want these kids to look back fondly on the years that they were in seventh grade, eighth grade, 10th grade with Mr. Laub. You know, like that's what I
I'm
want.
with
Otherwise,
you.
what am I doing? Yeah.
Man, I wish everybody looked at their job that way or that their career or their profession or whatever you want to call it. Because I think that we will get so much more out of the things that we do, right? There's too many people kind of just mailing it in. Like me, I could easily, the way that my class is set up, I could easily just, it will be on autopilot, everything grades itself. It will be so easy, but that's just not how I operate. I'm always tinkering. And my homeboy who works at a school basically down the street from mine, you
Mhm.
know, we're always on the phone and you know we're always PLCing. We're always going back and forth like, okay, I'm trying this in class. What you think? Nah, that might be too much. Okay, maybe you could do this. Maybe you could tweak it here. Maybe you could add this. Or man, I had this dope presentation about this. Like, man, I think we could do that. It's like, where can we fit it in? What unit can we get it into? And just like you, we're just like trying to be creative and make it an enjoyable experience for our kids. You know, that's really all we're trying to do. This is our clientele. And if everybody kind of did a little bit of that, now everybody kind of, I would say everybody has their area. I think some people are just a little more creative than others, right? But just the effort to go, I want to make it more enjoyable. That will go a long way. I think. Man, we missed out on a great teacher. At least we had you for a little while.
Well,
All right,
I see you.
go ahead. What's the difference between playing MSG, playing corporate events, and then maybe doing something smaller, more intimate? Because you, like we talked about before, you do a lot of different stuff. So like, how does that vibe change depending on where you're playing and who you're playing for?
Well, like when you're playing a major venue like Madison Square Garden, it's pretty surreal. Lincoln Center, Carnegie Hall, Jacob Javits Center, PBS, like those are all just surreal experiences, and you just kind of have to keep your head clear, not get distracted by everything. Um, and playing like a corporate event is just like, okay, here to get the paycheck. Although a lot of them are fun. Like I did like a corporate event on Maui, Hawaii, and that was definitely worth it. They made
Ooh.
they made it worth my while, and that's something where okay, like the performance maybe isn't like the people in the crowd maybe aren't as passionate about music as they are at Carnegie Hall, but the experience is cool and like just connecting with people. So that's nice. And like the smaller private events are cool, like cool too. I don't have this big ego on my shoulder. Like I'm very grounded. I know that some
Mm.
days I'll be doing a festival, and other days I'll be doing kind of a more intimate event. And I enjoy each experience just for their own each unique experience. And it's really about the music for me. It's about playing music that I enjoy. So that's the bottom line for me. Yeah.
Okay, kind of in the same vein, how do you compare working on music for you that you just want to make and then working with other people to make music? I guess how are those experiences different?
Well, like when I released Subtle Pulse, my most recent collaboration with really talented singer Porter Singer out in Seattle, like that was a cool like collaborative experience where she created the lyrics and the melody around my production in a way that I hadn't thought at all to do, and it was eye
Mm,
opening. It was gratifying to think that like okay, yeah, we can. I got to do this again. Um, and then in a different kind of sense, I like making things from the ground up. So tribute to Israel, that whole symphony that I just released, and then Exodus, the music video, which I just just published today,
mhm.
is it's very gratifying to know that like that whole production is all from my little fingers, and is something that that my listeners are passionate about, and specifically what I can provide them for their ears and for their soul and their spirit. So they're both important experiences for me as a musician and producer.
Mm.
But I'm gonna say I I'm hoping that I could find more like meaningful collaborative type production experiences. I'm constantly collaborating live performances, but in the studio is what I'm really like looking to achieve and looking to build. Like work
Mm.
with talented pianists and producers and that type of stuff.
Have you ever had a rapper over one of your piano beats? Not piano,
Um,
your violin beats?
I got close to working out a collaboration with a pretty decent sized rapper, and also like a funk singer
Mm.
and performer who's um, unfortunately didn't work out. But it's gonna happen soon. It's gonna happen soon, and if it's the right match, I'm definitely game, and I'm definitely interested. So
Okay, I can't wait for that one to come out. I follow you on Spotify, so whenever your new music drops or whatever's put there, then I'll definitely be able to check it out. But I like the experimentation. You know that's something that even if I don't like how it sounds, I respect the art of, hey, let's try this. Let's put this together.
Mhm.
Let's see how this could work. So yeah, I'm a fan of music, man. I respect it. I respect the craft.
I wish there were more people like you. A lot of people like the hype,
Man,
the lights and the hype and the production, and I get it, like it's eye candy. But for me, it's more about the music. Like I'd rather be in a room where I don't feel pressure to have the hype, the lighting, the robo heads, where people genuinely just want to hear the melody, and that's something that I really I'm looking to play for those people more. And they
yeah.
so
Yeah, I was the person in high school and even after high school, more so after high school. I was big into like a lot of hip hop, even though I listened to a lot of alternative rock, kind of growing up with my uncles, so we was into that stuff too. But I was like hip hop, through and through. So I would be the guy with the CD case that was like this big, and it had tons of like underground artists that people didn't know. And I was putting people on because like the craft of rapping, I was into it.
mhm.
So when you got somebody that could put the lines together a certain way or to do it in a certain cadence with a certain rhythm and maybe over a different kind of beat, oh man, I was locked in. I was locked in. Now, of course, I liked, the mainstream stuff that was good too. I like the Drakes and Lil Waynes, and Eminem is my favorite, because of that craft. Oh man, the craft of rapping, nobody does better. And then
Yeah, he just has a
Lupe
way to work.
Fiasco is another one.
Who?
Lupe Fiasco is a Chicago rapper. He popped a little bit, but he never got like huge. But they both, like you, the craft of rapping, being able to just do it in a way nobody else does it, like you can't get any better than that.
I've heard great rappers. I've heard not as great rappers. I can't say that
Mhm.
my favorite rappers are the biggest ones. You know, I don't know. I don't know why the big money selects the rappers that are kind of like mediocre. um, when there's like all this talent out there, but
Mhm.
I don't know the game. Snoop Dogg, I think he's really talented. You know, that it's like he's what I kind of like about him is that he's always chill when he's rapping. You know, he's just like he doesn't feel the need to like overexert himself. Kind of like that about him.
He's as laid back as you can be and still talk about the things that he talks about,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I think he's another person like with this distinct style, where it's like Snoop Dogg when you hear it. Like, oh yeah,
yeah.
that's Snoop. And if
Oh,
somebody was trying to be like Snoop, you'd be like, oh yeah, they trying to be like Snoop. Like, listen to him. So,
I guess there's nobody quite
um,
like Dr. Dre either.
no, I mean, but with Dr. Dre is more about it's more about the production. Like when you hear a beat, you're like, that's a Dr. Dre beat. A lot of times it's easy to pick it out because he has a distinct sound. Like Timbaland. When you hear Timbaland beat, like that's it. Or a guy like Puffy, the bad boy. They had their specific thing, different regions have different sounds. Like a Pitbull song when you hear it, right? So yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, man, I could talk music all day.
Yeah.
All right. We've gotten to the last part of the show where we do the three whats. You can go as long or as short as you want with these. So, first one, what's an opinion that you have that will be considered unpopular?
Unpopular. Oh man, I could take this in like the dietary direction. I mean, my what I happen to think is, I food.
It
All
could
right,
be,
I don't care. I don't care if people hate me. I food is something that I'm a little bit like I'm real. I put a lot of emphasis on the stuff that goes in my body. It's a philosophy. It's a
Mhm.
way of thinking, living. It's obviously because I suffered a trauma, but and this has sort of been the source of my success and my ability to kind of overcome the odds. So it's pretty unpopular, and I don't share it often with people. Certainly not around a table or like with close friends. I keep my mouth shut. I do my thing. So that's one unpopular opinion. The other thing is, man, should I bring up politics? I
If
don't
that's
care.
what you want to do.
I don't care. People. People are gonna hate me anyway. I'm an independent. I don't trust either party, so that's unpopular. Most people are either right or left, and they go at it. It's like I hate you. So yeah, I'm an independent. I think that both parties have something to say, have something to value. I think they both have good points. I happen to think they're both cut from the same cloth, and it's just a big fat game. So that's that. Unpopular opinion number two. Number three. Um, I strongly believe, even though it's a little bit insane, that it's important that we live a short life. So it's important to live a life that is meaningful to ourselves, not to the voices and that we hear, other people's expectations that they place upon us. To an extent, to be a certain degree of practicality in your decision, you have to be able to pay the bills. You don't want to be homeless, but if it means taking a bit of a pay cut to be happy, to live 30 years of joy, maybe not have as good of a retirement, I kind of choose that path in terms of taking that risk, in the hopes that I won't have to take a pay cut. But so in this case, I chose music. It's pretty unpopular. People didn't really approve of it until they realized there's no other direction I'm taking right now. So yeah, I've got lots of other unpopular opinions, but those are the three big ones.
Okay, we'll take them all. All right, second what?
Look forward to everybody's hate mail.
Oh man,
DM it to me on Instagram. Look, I'm ready.
Hey, we'll plug it. We'll plug it here in a second. If you weren't in music, would you be a teacher or a nurse?
I don't well, because I didn't actually practice nursing, but I got the degree. I'd probably do that because I gotta do it, And then if I decided I gotta go back to education, I'd do that. So simple answer.
Okay. Last what? What advice would you give to someone in high school? You go back to your classroom, your old classroom, they're like, Mr. Laub, what will you tell us? What would you say to those kids? I made it out. Sayonara.
What advice would I give to the kids in the classroom in high school? I feel like youth is wasted on youth. So we're all spending a lot of time. And I feel this even in retrospect, I wasted a lot of time worrying about the peer pressure and the expectations that didn't make any sense to me. Even the partying, I felt like it was a huge waste of time that I could have spent putting my axe to the grind, trying to make something of myself. And it was just the pressure to get approval was just so significant. I found it to be damaging, which is a waste of time. And I really I'm not even in contact with a lot of my friends from high school, maybe sadly, whatever. I moved on. I have my family. I have friends here, and it happens to most people, I think. So just start thinking forward, and stop looking around you. Stop looking around you, because all this this stuff here in high school it's just gonna it's not gonna be relevant to you. It's gonna be a fond memory in the past. Even if you come back and end up teaching. That's where I'm at. Probably another unpopular opinion.
Okay. Thank you, Asher, for that advice. I'll tell it to my kids. Hey, just look forward. Don't worry about the parties, man. It's okay. Before
Dad.
we let you out of here.
Sure, Dad. I'm not going to party. Roll their eyes.
Before you get out of here, let's tell everybody where they can send all of that. We won't say hate mail. We'll send all that love mail, all those good vibes. Where can people find you?
I get hate comments all the time. I'm okay with it. It shows that people care. So asherlaub.com, ASHERLAUB.com. And you can send some love to Asher Laub on Instagram, Asher Laub Music on Facebook. And if you want to actually support me in a genuine way and in a useful way, without having to spend money, just stream my music and share with your friends, because that really means the world. On Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, those are the people those are the listeners that I value the most, really. I feel that helps my career. Like that because then the algorithm shares my music with other like-minded similar people, and that's what I'm trying to do, is reach people with my original music as opposed to all the shenanigans that I'm doing on Instagram and TikTok. Like that's
Shenanigans.
yeah, because who's yeah,
I understand 100%. As somebody who's trying to get their podcast out there and trying to get people to listen and stuff, you got to play the game.
well, thank God for the podcast, because this is the platform that matters. Like the podcast people actually sit and they listen and they absorb the content in a meaningful way, whereas it's like TikTok is like scroll. So there's like an excess of content, and it lacks meaning and it lacks depth. I'm gonna get punished by TikTok. I don't care.
Thank you, Asher, for coming on, man. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. The banter, the back and forth was great. Of course, make sure y'all go follow him, asherlaub.com. Make sure you go check out his music, stream it, share it. I'll probably post some of that stuff that I listened to. I think one was called like Dreamer that I really liked,
Oh, Dreaming Awake.
or something. Yeah, there you go.
Neon Dreams.
So yeah,
I'm a dreamy kind of guy.
Make sure you guys follow me on IG and TikTok at the Living Numbers Podcast. Make sure you rate and review 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. And then I got the Linktree website in the description, so that's where you can find all my stuff. Thank you all, and I will see you in the next round.